Hello everyone and welcome to your week 6 maths. So this video is to explain the lessons that you've got this week, and they follow on really nicely from last week's lesson. So you'll remember that you did some learning on ratio, and I explained what that term meant, so hopefully you can remember that. But what it was that ratio means the relationship between numbers. So you're going to be continuing on with some very similar questions this week, but with the added term of proportion, which means something different. And actually those two terms, ratio and proportion, adults often get confused. So what I would like at the end of this video, if you feel like you understand it well enough, is to go to your adults, ask them if they know, test them, see if they can tell you, and if they're wrong then you can teach them, which would be lovely. So let's have a look. I've got a board this week with some writing on instead of my notebook, which I thought might be nicer, but I need to try and fit it in so that you can see it nicely. So hopefully you can see that well there. Let me just get the full bit in. Brilliant. So you can see here that ratio is the relationship between your numbers, and proportion is the amount of the whole. So that's the difference there, that's the key difference. So if we're talking about ratio, we're going to think back to some similar examples from last week. I've got a picture there of a blue adult and a red child. So our numbers there represent that. The relationship of adults to children is 1 to 1. So there's the same number of adults and children. If we're talking about proportion, we're looking at how many out of the whole. So if we're looking at how many people are in that room of my 1 to 1, there are 2 people in that room. So if I ask what is the proportion of adults to children in that room, it would be half. It would be 1 out of 2. So I'm going to show you here. So we've got 1 adult out of a total of 2 in the room, and we write that as a fraction, 1 out of 2. So that's why you're going to be using fractions in some of your questions this week. So let's just have a go at the one below that also. So we've got a picture of 2 adults to 8 children now. So that's the relationship, 2 to 8. So I could multiply that up or divide it down as long as the relationship stays the same. So there are 4 times as many children as adults. So I could divide this side by 2 and divide this side by 2 and have 1 to 4. The relationship's the same. There are still 4 times as many children as adults. Now we're going to look at the proportion again. So we've got, we need to look at how many adults out of all of the people in the room. So I'm going to add up all of my people in the room, 2 plus 8, so I've got a total of 10. So if I'm asking for the proportion of adults in the room, it's going to be 2 out of the whole, which is 10. So I'm going to write that as a fraction again, 2 out of 10. And remember that if you're using fractions, we know how to simplify. So I'm going to just write that quickly now. Hopefully you can do that in your head as I'm doing it. So we had 2 over 10. We can also have that as 1 over 5. And that's pretty much it. That's the only difference for this week. So have a go and let me know if you get stuck. Good luck.